All right, today we're tackling a classic, John Steinbeck's The Pearl. It's one of those books that seems really simple at first glance, but man, once you start digging, you realize just how deep and heavy it really is. It's a story that absolutely sticks with you. And what's so cool is that Steinbeck himself basically tells us to look for something more here. He says, hey, this is a parable. Read your own life into it. So he's not just spinning a yarn about a guy who finds a pearl. No, he's holding up a mirror and asking us, what do you see? What does this say about us? Okay, so this brings us to the real heart of the matter, the question we're going to unpack today. We all know what happens to Kino is a tragedy, right? It's just awful. But the big question is, why? What's the real cause of his downfall? Is he just a victim of a seriously messed up racist society? Or did something inside of him, his own pride, his own anger, lead him down that dark path? So here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start by looking at these two enemies. Then we'll see how the Song of Evil comes into play. We'll explore how the pearl literally becomes his soul, how he's transformed as a man, and the ultimate terrible price he pays. And finally, we'll talk about the really bitter lessons Steinbeck seems to be teaching us. So let's start at the beginning. Before all the chaos, before the pearl, Kino's life is, well, it's kind of perfect in its own simple way. Steinbeck has this amazing way of describing it. He calls it the song of the family. And this song isn't just some catchy tune. It's the feeling of safety. It's the warmth of his family. It's the sound of his wife, Juana, making breakfast. The feeling of his baby son, Coyotito, sleeping nearby. It's this beautiful internal melody that tells him everything is right with the world. It's whole. And then, just like that, everything shatters. A scorpion, this little creature representing a kind of random brutal evil, stings his son. And bam! That single moment rips Kino out of his perfect little world and throws him headfirst against a society that is cruel, cold, and just does not care about him. So he runs for help, right? He goes to the doctor. And the doctor's response is just unbelievably cold. He basically says, why should I treat some little Indian's bug bite? I'm not a vet. I mean, wow. Right there, Steinbeck lays it all out. The doctor represents this whole colonial system, this deep-seated racism and greed that just infects the entire town. To him, Kino isn't even a person. And this is where Steinbeck's genius with these songs really comes through. That warm, comforting song of the family, it gets replaced. A new tune starts playing in Kino's head, the Song of Evil. It's this jarring, dangerous melody that shows up whenever he's faced with a threat, with corruption, with an enemy. It's the soundtrack to his world falling apart. And once Kino finds that massive pearl, the pearl of the world, that Song of Evil gets a whole lot louder. Because now it's not just the doctor, it's everyone. The priest, the shopkeepers, the pearl buyers, they all turn into what Steinbeck calls a single colonial animal. It's like the whole town just sees Kino as a walking dollar sign, an opportunity to get rich. They're all circling like sharks. But here's the twist, and it's a really important one. The pearl doesn't just draw out the evil in the town. It starts to awaken something dark inside Kino, too. All that pressure from the outside starts to change him, to poison him from within. Think about it. All these things he could never even dream of, a proper wedding, new clothes, a rifle, giving his son an education, suddenly they seem possible. The pearl stops being just a pearl. It becomes a symbol of hope, of defiance against the system that's kept him down his entire life. For his son to be able to read, that's not just education, that's a revolution. And this is the turning point. His beautiful hope starts to, well, it curdles. It turns into this dangerous, all-consuming obsession. When his wife Juana begs him to get rid of it, saying it's evil, Kino tells her, the pearl has become my soul. I mean, let that sink in. He's saying he'd rather risk his family's safety than give it up. Losing the pearl now means losing his very self. So now you've got these two things happening at once, right? The town's greed and Kino's own obsession. And what's so tragic is how they feed each other. It's like a vicious feedback loop, a downward spiral of violence that just completely changes who Kino is. You can see it happen step by step. First, it's just rage. He smashes his fist against the doctor's gate. Then that rage turns inward, towards his family. He actually hits Juana when she tries to throw the pearl away. Then he's forced to kill a man who attacks him in the dark. And by the end, when he's being hunted, he becomes the hunter.
The loving father is gone, replaced by what Steinbeck calls a terrible machine, just focused on survival and destruction. So you have this awful collision, man against society and man against himself. And, well, a crash like that can only end in one way. It's headed for a conclusion that is just unthinkable.
And here it is, the most brutal, heartbreaking moment in the whole story. The trackers hunting him hear a noise. They think it's a coyote pup. They fire a rifle, and they kill Coyotito. And the terrible, terrible irony is that the rifle, the very thing Kino dreamed of buying to secure his son's future, becomes the instrument of his death. The violence that Kino let into his life has finally taken everything from him.
When Kino and Juana walk back into their village, something is profoundly different. They don't walk in single file anymore, like custom dictates. They walk side by side. They're equals now, joined in a grief so immense it has burned away all the old rules, all the old illusions.
And then you got this incredibly powerful scene. Kino holds out the pearl to Juana, basically saying, "You do it. You get rid of it." But she just looks at him and says, "No, you." Just 2 words, but they're so heavy. She's telling him, this was your obsession. This was your fight. You have to be the one to end it. You have to reclaim your own soul.
So when Kino finally hurls that pearl back into the ocean, it's more than just getting rid of a rock. It's a huge symbolic act. He's rejecting 2 things at once: the greedy, corrupt world that wanted to chew him up and spit him out, and he's also rejecting the pride, the anger, the violence inside himself that helped it happen.
And that, right there, is Steinbeck's bitter lesson. He's flipping a famous biblical parable, the pearl of great price, completely on its head. In the Bible, a man sells everything for a pearl that represents heaven. But in Steinbeck's world, chasing that pearl, that symbol of wealth and the American dream, especially in a system that's rigged against you, it doesn't save you. It absolutely destroys your soul.
So in the end, Steinbeck throws that question right back at us, the one he started with. He wants us to look at our own lives. So what's your pearl? What's the thing you're chasing, the thing you'd sacrifice anything for? And maybe the most important question of all, are you sure you know what it's really costing you?